What's the strangest way you've ever made a ton of money? About 5 years ago, I was broke, jobless, and sleeping on my buddy's couch in Pittsburgh after my startup folded and my credit card debt spiraled out of control. One night, I was scrolling through Craigslist at 3 a.m., looking for literally anything that paid, when I saw this post in the gigs section, seeking emotionally neutral person to attend family dinner. $500, cash, no touching. My first thought was obviously serial killer, but then I read it again. It was oddly specific, but didn't ask for anything illegal. Just sit at a dinner table and exist? I emailed, fully expecting a scam or a virus. Instead, I got a reply 10 minutes later. Directions to a mansion-sized house in the suburbs and one final instruction. Do not speak unless spoken to. Wear a dark suit. Bring nothing. Curiosity and desperation won out. I borrowed a suit from my friend and showed up the next evening. The guy who answered the door was maybe late 30s. Hair too neat. Smile too controlled. You're perfect, he said, handing me an envelope full of $100 bills before I'd even stepped inside. Just sit. Don't react. That's all you're here for. He led me into this absurdly fancy dining room where 10 people were already seated. His parents, 2 teenage sisters, a very frail-looking grandfather, and a few others who looked like they hadn't spoken to each other in years. As I sat in the empty chair at the foot of the table, everyone stared. Nobody said a word for a full minute. Finally, the host raised his glass and said, "Now that he's here, let's begin." What followed was the tensest, most passive-aggressive dinner I've ever endured. Arguments broke out over everything. Inheritance, who was responsible for the grandfather's medical bills, someone's affair with someone else's husband. But every time things started to spiral, someone would glance at me and stop. I wasn't doing anything, just sitting, occasionally nodding or taking a polite bite of the food, which was surprisingly incredible. After dessert, the host stood up and announced, "I hope tonight was healing for everyone." Then he walked me to the door and said, "Thanks for being the neutralizer." Apparently, his therapist had suggested the family bring in a stranger to disrupt the script, make everyone too uncomfortable to explode. I thought it was a one-time thing, until a week later, he called again. "Sunday dinner, same pay." I said yes. I ended up going to 8 of those dinners. Eventually, they even gave me a nickname, Quiet Carl. I made $4,000 just by sitting still and looking vaguely disappointed in humanity. The money helped me pay off a loan and buy a used car. They stopped calling after a few months, and I assume the family either imploded or learned to behave. But every now and then I wonder if I accidentally became the glue that held together a multi-million-dollar inheritance dispute just by showing up and saying absolutely nothing.